Welcome to the Lone Machinist podcast, where it's just you, your machine, and the work. This week, we've got someone special. We got Dylan from Proteum Machining and with Intolerance, as well as Curt.
Hey
Hi.
guys.
Thanks for
So,
joining us, man.
yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We are going to jump straight into it by flipping the script and getting you to tell us about your beginnings.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. I guess going back super far, I was always the kid who was taking stuff apart, breaking stuff, trying to fix it. That came later, obviously. I think many of us take a million things apart and it's only like, 3 years, 4 years down the line, you're like, I can actually fix it now. Parents aren't mad. Awesome. Um, but going into college, I went to the University of Arizona for 2 years for mechanical engineering. And while I was there, I was, 18, living on my own, stupid, not going to class. And they politely asked me to leave at the end of the second year and said, hey, you need to go to the community college or somewhere else and like raise your GPA and come back and we can finish it out. And so I went to Pima Community College locally, and they have a fantastic machine tool program. Like, it was great when I went, and now they have I can't remember how many $1 million building that they just built recently that has 3 stories and all, mechatronics and all this stuff now. But I went there. I was just doing gen eds, and then I was like, oh, I'll take this machining course. Like, whatever. I've heard of this. I'll take one as a elective. I need to fill out some, or pad my credits, and just fell in love. Like, I was like, this is so cool. This is all of the mechanical stuff that I wanted out of engineering that I wasn't getting. I was like going to class. It's so funny because, like, looking back in retrospect, there was classes I wish I had paid attention to. Like, I took a really great material science class from a professor who like really knew his shit. But at the time I was like, why do I care about any of this? Like, none of this makes sense. And now, of course, I'm like, I deal with these metals every day and like heat treat and all this stuff. It's like, man, I really wish I had paid more attention so I understood more of this. Uh, but yeah, I ended up, first I took one class and I was like, oh, I'll stick around. They have like you can get a degree, which is 2 years. You can get all of these certificates. It's just like a manual machining certificate, a CNC operator certificate. I was like, oh, I'll do my manual machining cert and then, go back to engineering school. I was like, oh, I want to see what the CNC stuff is about. And so like I took one of those classes. I'm like, oh, I'll stick around for like the CNC operator. Like, then I can get a job while I go back to school. I was like, oh, but I really want to like do some programming. And so like it just ended up that I stayed for the full 2 years. Ended up being 2.5, 3 years because I had a motorcycle accident in the middle of there. But yeah, it changed my life. And then during my either last semester or last year that I was going there, there was a shop in town that had a Craigslist ad for a Mastercam programmer. And at the time, I was like just starting my first Mastercam class, and so like I went in, I was like, I can't program Mastercam, but like I'm learning, like I'll be able to do this. And they were like, well, we can't pay you, but like we will be able to one day. I was like, okay, and so I swept floors and loaded parts and did all that stuff for, I think it was maybe 6 months or so, 4 to 6 months. And then they had a maintenance guy leave and they were like, well, we have an open paycheck. So like, do you want it? Do you want to, actually be a part-time employee? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. And yeah, just kind of slowly built up my resume and my skills there. Like the boss there, Jim, he is and was fantastic at kind of training me and making me think about how to make parts and letting me fail, but not so much that it was devastating. I think I've told the story before on a few different podcasts, but the first big crash I had, I was cutting. They had these hard jaws with a step in them that you could bolt down little pieces of aluminum. So it was like a hard soft jaw hybrid. And I bolted those pieces in and cut the step with a shell mill that had a 90-degree corner. And just looked and was like, oh, okay, I'll set that as my Z. Like, I haven't lifted up yet. I manually cut it. Like, that's perfect. Not remembering that there's the height offset to account for. And so I load the first part, get everything else indicated in, hit the cycle start, and like, if it was a normal slow feed in or something, I could have caught it. But whoever programmed it had it coming down in XZ at 200 inches a minute to start the facing. and it just crashed the shit out of the hard jaws and broke every insert. And so, of course, I grab it out of the machine, super red face, walk up to the front, show Jim, and he's like all right, go out there and look up how much the cutter bodies are. Find me a new cutter body, and like had me go through all that. So I knew what the cost of my mistake was, and the thing he would always tell me, because I was learning very very quickly, and he was learning to trust me more and more. But he was always tell me, can you hurry up and fuck up so I can start trusting you? Because like he knew I was gonna screw up. Like everybody's gonna screw up in this trade. It's just impossible not to. He was like, just make your mistakes now, make them hopefully small enough that you're not, destroying machines, so I can start trusting you to do more and more and more. And by the time I left there, I was probably one of their top programmers, and running and programming 3 or 4 machines every day. And then I think 6 or 8 months, maybe a year before I left, is when Brad and I started Proteum. So Brad and I met in school. So like during those Mastercam classes, I lucked out and ended up sitting next to him, and he was big into cars and motorcycles, and I rode a motorcycle every day. So it was very clear that I was into cars and bikes. And, we just started chatting about that and became really close friends, and constantly were complaining about where we worked. Like I loved Jim. Jim is a fantastic person, but he has like a habit of just buying a ton of old shit from auctions. And so it was like, every 3 months, these boxes would show up from some random ass auctions, and it would be like kind of trash holders and kind of trash tools. And like sometimes there would be a gem in there and stuff, but like I could tell like that was holding us back. Like all the machines there were Kitamuras from like 83 to 95. I think we finally got like a 2000s Kitamura, a 2001 Kitamura when I was there, and it was like, oh, this is the new thing. It was like, yeah, it's not though. Uh, but so Brad and I were constantly lamenting to each other, like, oh, we could do this better. We were young and dumb and naive, and was just like, clearly looking back on it, had no idea the business side of any of this. It's like, how hard could that be? Like the machining is the real hard part of this.
That's
And
That's
so we,
that's the perfect mix of like dumb, naive. I can do it better. Like that's the only way you're going to go out on your
well,
own.
that's the e-myth in a nutshell. Is you can do it better than your boss can do it, so you're
uh-huh.
doing it anyway. Why don't you do it for yourself? And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what my situation is. Well, I mean, that I think that's how a lot of people get into it.
And so we kind of joked, and he was like, well, I've got some savings that like we could buy a machine with. And still just like not really taking it seriously and not really thinking that it was something we were going to do. And then there was a robo drill in Phoenix, like 2 hours north of me, that popped up that had lost all of its parameters. And one thing I loved about my first job is because the machines were older, we did all of our own maintenance. Like we replaced spindles, we, pulled out servo drives and sent them off to get reflowed and stuff like that. And so I had to put in parameters by hand many a time. Like I knew I knew how to do it, unfortunately. And so I was like, oh, we can fix that. Like I know how to fix this for sure. Like robo drills are reliable from everything we knew at that point. I can totally fix that if he has a copy of the parameters. And so we were like super stoked about it. It was like $5,000 or something. It was super, super cheap. Uh and we called, and he was like, oh yeah, it's still here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we planned to like go up the next week and look at it and pay for it. And it sold out from under us. And like we were so crestfallen by that we realized there was something there. Like we really actually did want to start a shop, and kept searching, found our first machine, which was a 2001 Kitamura Spark Changer 1XI. So it's the vertical pallet changing BT30 machine. Uh, like I said, all of the machines I had run were Kitamuras, so like I knew how good their support was, all that stuff. And the only, not a really red flag, but unknown about it was a Yasnak control, and all I had worked on was Fanuc. So, but we decided, it was 10 grand, like it was so cheap and
Yeah.
barely run by the place that we bought it from. You would walk in there and think it was a Haas distribution place. Like they had like 50 Haas machines and one Kitamura and one DMG, and you're like, oh, okay. and,
Yeah, so
and
they
it was
basically
like,
didn't like it.
yeah, nobody. I think there was one guy they said that knew how to run it. Otherwise, everybody else had no idea.
On that machine, so I'm assuming because it's the Spark, whatever, it's meant for machining electrodes. Like that
No,
was
spark
its.
changer was their way of saying like it's a fast pallet changer.
Okay. Because I was
Yeah.
going to say BT30, like they're not super common with the Kitamoras, is it?
No, so
Yeah.
up until I want to say like early 2000s, they were mostly BT35, which
Oh,
is impossible to find now.
yeah.
But like all the
It's
ones that I'd run at my first job, I think 8 out of the 12 or 8 out of the 15 or whatever were BT35.
oh wow, because I used to run Kitamoras where I used to work, and those were BT40 or sorry, Cat 40. You couldn't tool change a BT, but it would take a BT. You just couldn't put it in the carousel. Not that they really used the carousels on the one machine. Yeah, it was one of those shops. Everything was programmed by hand on the
Mm-hmm.
controller, or turn the handle, or even better, wedge a piece of shim stock in the button to jog it sideways. Yeah, one of
Wonderful.
those shops. Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, no, interesting. I just had never heard of them having a BT30 spindle. That's why I thought maybe it
Yeah,
was aimed at the electrode market.
I think it might have been aimed at medical because they had a
Okay.
lot of, they still have a lot of
Yeah.
like medical facing models.
Yeah.
And so that thing was awesome though. Like it was 15,000 RPM.
Oh
I
wow.
think it weighed 12 or 14,000 pounds for a BT30 machine. Like so I left my first job, contracted for a little bit, and this is while Proteum's going on and like still kind of a occasional night, occasional weekend kind of thing. It was more just like a place we stored bikes and motor and engines and projects and stuff. But I ended up working at another shop that was all Haas, and like it was so frustrating to me because my BT30 Kitamura was the same weight and more rigid than like the VF2s and VF3s I was running during my day job. Like I would try to take a cut that I knew would work in my machine, and it was like, nope, squeals. I'm like, this is so stupid. Um, but so yeah, like I guess dual tracking there. I left my first job, did some contract programming, tried to make that a thing, didn't really have success or motivation really at that point. Like I left my first job not under my own volition. They didn't fire me. They made me a contractor. And it all kind of stemmed from me butting heads with the lead manual machinist quite a bit. Like he was very much one of those people that like he would see me on my phone and be like, "Oh, Dylan's not working." And it's like, "No, dude, I've swept all of my machines and I have 4 machines running my programs. Like what
Mhm.
do you want me to do? I can't take machines from the other programmers. Like I'm done." And the way my boss put it to me, still it doesn't piss me off at him, but it pisses me off that this is the truth. Is he was like, sometimes the appearance of evil is worse than the actual evil, and I'm like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I became a contractor. Then they kind of just like tapered that off because they were very very clearly trying to fire me without firing me. And then I did that for a little while. Then I worked at another shop that taught me a lot about what not to do in a shop. They were extremely frugal while doing very advanced aerospace stuff to their own detriment. And I started there as like a night shift operator because they didn't really believe my resume. Like I don't know why, but anyway, that whole thing, I very quickly was like, I need to leave this place. Like this is not. I don't know that this place is going to last 6 months, let alone me be here. And it didn't.
And
I think I left and they were gone 2 or 3 months later.
and all this while, you and Brad had like you guys had a small commercial space
Yeah, so
already.
we
So
bought that Kitamura without having a place for it because we had to jump on it
okay.
so quickly. And then we found a shop. It was 1,000 square feet or so. And thankfully, it had 3-phase power, had what we need, super low rent. I think it was when we first got into it, it was like $700 a month. And like the suites had no running water. You had a shared bathroom. There was taps outside. Like each side of the building had 2 taps for 15 suites that you could like run a hose to. But had 3-phase power, was relatively clean. It worked out. It was and super cheap. Like it was cheap enough that like we could take one job a month and be like, okay, everything's paid for. We're good.
I know we have a question later on talking about like business and risk and stuff like that. So yeah, you basically stacked it so that you could have this place, a machine, and still, if worse come to worse, you and Brad could easily float it along with your other bills.
Yeah, yeah,
Not be
exactly. Well,
not
and
be
at that
under.
point, like Brad was funding most of it. Like, thank God Brad was very frugal during his teenage and like early adulthood because he had a bunch saved up. I mean, not a bunch, but like enough for like the machine and the space and like, a few pin sets from eBay and like a few mics from eBay and like, all that stuff just to start off. And like I had worked enough in inspection at my first job that I knew what we needed in terms of like, okay, if we're going to go after this kind of work, these are like the bare minimums. Like we need, a few indicators, we need a small granite plate, we need a pin set up to 1/4 inch, and like, this and this. And like we got the absolute minimum viable product as far as I'm concerned for a shop inspection set. Uh, and yeah, so we moved that thing in, had no idea, like we powered it ourselves. We did all the electrical ourselves. Um, had no idea how to send programs to it. So I had to figure all that out. And like that actually landed on a week or 2 weeks where Brad was in Japan. And so I was just there like every day after work, dicking around on it. Like, okay, what if I change it to this baud rate and these stop bits and this and that? And like going back and forth between the Kitamura manuals. And like I found some FTP or serial transfer program that I don't even remember who it was, that it was some online one that had like a freebie version you could use for 30 days or something, but it was also very unguarded. So you could like go into the registry and just like change it back to 0 and continue to use it. Like it
Nice.
had no idea. Not that I'm suggesting stealing software. I would never do that
No.
intentionally. But so yeah, so I was working at that shop that was failing. I told them I ended up getting, I don't remember if they called me or I called them, but there was a headhunter job finder person that I ended up using to find my next job, and he completely lied to me. He he was like, "Oh yeah, they're looking for a Fusion 360 programmer. They need another programmer. Blah blah blah." I go into the interview and they're like, "What's Fusion? What are you talking about? We need either a button pusher or we need an inspector." And I was like, "Inspector it is. Sounds great." And I told my other boss, I was like, "Hey, I'm leaving in 2 weeks." He was like, "No, no, no, no. Like, we'll give you whatever you want." And I was like, "All right, I need more pay. I need you to buy Inventor HSM because I'm not using Mastercam anymore. And I need like this, and this." And he was like, "Okay, we'll do all of that, and we'll make you head programmer and blah blah blah." I was like, "Put it in writing. If it's in writing tomorrow, I'll come in and I'll stay." Come in the next day. "Well, we can't quite give you what we promised and pay. Well, we can't quite do this. Well, we can't." I'm like, "All right, man, I'm out. Peace." Um, and then I would say that becoming an inspector was probably the best possible thing for making me a better machinist. Like it was funny because the inspector at my first job hated me. Like we butted heads constantly. He constantly found a reason to reject my parts, my first articles. I really did not like him. Like I would go home to my girlfriend and just be like, "I hate David. Like fuck that guy. I cannot stand him." And it turned out that he had come from Full Circle, my new job. Like he was an inspector there,
Mm.
and it was only after becoming an inspector that I realized like all of his gripes with me were completely right. Like I was not good at machine deburring. I was, missing very like small scratches I was putting in parts with like mics and stuff. I was just like sloppy. I mean, he was a total asshole about it, don't get me wrong, but he was right. And so like it was all of those things that I learned there that really changed the way I viewed machining and changed the way I viewed work holding and just how to make good parts, like actually good parts. Because like when I started there, the president and CEO, he was like, "Your job in inspection, you're technically my hire, but you are our customer's employee as far as I'm concerned." He's like, "You're here to make sure that they get parts that they want and that we abide by the prints and all that stuff." And so I learned, AS 9100 stuff and ISO and filling out fares. And then I started programming their CMM because the two guys that knew how to do it had kind of learned on the job and didn't really take after it. And I was like, dude, this is a CNC. And like, it's okay. I can get back on a CNC that's not, my own. And so I learned that. They sent me to training for it. We ended up buying a scanning CMM that I fully programmed and templated and all that stuff. And around, I was there like 4.5, 5 years, something like that. And I think 3.5 years into it, the president was like, "Oh, you know how to program like CNCs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, told you guys that day one." And he was like, "Oh, okay. I think we're gonna pull you into engineering." And like him and my boss in inspection got into a big fight because she was like, "We can't lose Dylan. He programs our CMM." And so I ended up being both. It was just like, okay, you just do all the things then.
Right. Yeah. So that's easier.
As usual. Yeah. But it was great. Like I got really, really good experience learning the inspection side. I also got experience troubleshooting age old programs because that company had been around for, I don't know, 40 years or something like that. We had a lot of historical programs that were either programmed in software we didn't have anymore or just were hand programmed. And like so many of the programs used custom ground tools, or like they would take an end mill and shrink it into a brass extension and then put that in a holder and that would stay set up forever. And then it's like, oh, that tool broke and there's no print. There's nobody to make it. It had some weird custom ground radius on the end. Dylan, you need to find like an off the shelf solution and figure this out and like reprogram it. It's like, okay, but there's no program. Like this is a manual program that somebody hand wrote 35 years ago. And so I was like, okay, backplotted an NC viewer, figure out the tool I need to pull out, figure out what it's actually doing, look at the print, figure out where the work coordinate is, and then like actually program it in, we were using HSM in SolidWorks. And so that was like it was fun. It was a great challenge because every day was just like, okay, something's breaking, something is going wrong. Dylan, you need to fix it. Uh, but when I first hired into engineering, like we had a meeting with the engineering manager and my inspection manager and stuff, I told them, I was like, hey, I have my own shop. I'm not doing the same kind of work at all. I'm not doing aerospace at all, but I will be leaving in some undetermined amount of time for my own shop. Like once I feel like it can support me. And they did not believe me at all. I could tell. Like they were just like, okay, kid, whatever. And then I think it was like 2 years later, I was like, hey guys, I need to leave. Like, and I gave them 6 months. I gave them ample time, and regretted that very much. So, but yeah, so then 2021, we were doing well at Proteum. I needed to make the leap, and I did. I left November of 2021. So actually, 4 years ago now.
Nice. Well, congratulations. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And then, since then it's just been growing and growing and growing. We bought one of my non-negotiables for going full time was buying a new machine with support. Cause like we had our Kitamura go down and had to like send off boards we sent off the main board to get, fixed because we didn't know what was wrong with it. Paid $800-900 to get it fixed. It worked for like 2 more months and then took a crap again. And then we ended up having to buy a brand new board from Yaskawa, who owns Yaznak now. And the price to fix any board is half the cost of a new one from them. Like getting a replacement, like that you send in your board to get fixed and they just send you a new one, basically. And then use yours as a core to build another one. And it was stuff like that I was like, there's no way I can be paying myself and like worried about this if I am constantly worried that our machine's going to go down too. And so, we bought that Brother Speedio. In the middle there, we had bought like another used Kitamura that we took apart. It was like absolutely disgusting. We were going to rebuild it, and then we took it all apart, cleaned some of it, and we're like, this is not what we need to be doing. And then we bought a used Brother TC S2A, and that was our first Brother experience, and that thing was fantastic. I mean, it had almost no look ahead, but like in terms of holding tolerance and being reliable, it was 14 years old at that point when we bought it, and it was still holding good tolerance and running great and still crazy fast.
So on that machine,
go for it.
That was running the Brother controller. That was one of their first Brother controllers. Okay. So
Yeah,
it
it's
was meant to be a drill tap center where you don't
yes,
need a huge look ahead. Yeah, okay. I was just
exactly. Like
curious
we had
about
to
those
buy.
that era of machine, like because I mean they spun their own controller because I think it was because Fanuc wouldn't supply them because they were becoming a competitor.
I don't know the whole provenance there of like why they did all that stuff. So we had the A0. They technically had one before the A0 that was like truly just conversational. Like you could do basically nothing with it. And then for our TCS2A to be usable, we ended up having to buy the last revision of the control board. So like ours was an early revision. I think there was 6 or 7 revisions of that board. We bought the last one, and then they had to come in and install it because otherwise you had no DNC capabilities at all and no helical interpolation abilities at all.
Okay.
And then that turned out to be a nightmare because like we output all the parameters and stuff, and then lo and behold, there's like no way to load them back on. Like you send the same file back with DNC, and it just like wouldn't read it. It's like okay,
Fun.
hand putting in all the parameters again, going back to my roots. Like this is great. And like the Yamasen guys were great. They were there till 8 or 9 at night with me, like hand putting back in parameters and making sure that everything worked. They were both really good friends. Like they had, been good to us. And yeah, so that one, I can't remember. I think we got the new Speedio first. Then we got the TCS2A because we needed a third spindle. And by that point, we were barely using the Kitamura. We were using the two brothers way more than the Kitamura for sure. And then, so we tried selling the Kitamura. And that was a whole weird story too, where like we had it on Craigslist. Nobody was really biting. And then I get a call out of the blue from some guy who's like, hey, I sold your machine. I was like, excuse me? And this company, they're in Florida and they like find Craigslist ads and people who are like trying to sell machines, and then they just like steal your pictures and your description and put it on their website and sold it for us. Like I was like, I don't believe that you're real, but like here's my bank information, wire me the money, and if it's real, come take the machine,
Sounds
sure.
legit. Yeah.
And like so we bought that machine for 10 grand and we sold that machine for 10 grand. And I'm sure he marked it up to probably 12 or 15. But like we rented that Kitamura for whatever it was, 4 or 5 years for a few grand in repair costs.
And
Um,
at this point, what was your work entailing? If you can talk much about it, was it like kind of all over the map, or were you already trying to like find what you were good at, or just take what you can get, or?
we had at that point we still did a fair bit of local stuff. Like so, when we started the company with just the Kitamura, our biggest customer was a local company who does. I don't even know if they do it anymore, but they did airplane interiors. They had a bunch of press brakes and laser cutters, and they would cut out paneling and bend it and put in all the tight tolerance features in their mills. And so, like, they would just give us their fixtures, give us the blanks, and we would put in, counterbores that were plus or minus 2, weird features, engrave them, stuff like that. And like, it was great because they would just tell us what they were going to pay us. They would like say, "Hey, do you want to make 100 of these for this much money?" I was like, sure, okay, we'll do it. And it was always very tight turnaround. Like they'd be like, hey, it's Thursday afternoon. You want to come pick them up and have it to us Monday morning? It's like, yeah, I'm working a long weekend. Sure, got this, no problem. And then we kind of graduated. Like Brad and I put out like a Facebook post that was just like, hey, we've started a shop. If you guys have any work, and like because I had gone to engineering school, I had enough friends that like were working in places now that send us work and yada yada yada. And then by the time we were selling the Kitamura, we had picked up a few other bigger customers that weren't local, just through family friends and word of mouth. And we're kind of starting to steer ourselves towards the high precision, quick turnaround prototypes that we do now. But it was definitely not all of our work. It was we had no conviction that like that was the way that we were going for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Um, So yeah, and I think that that's this around the time that I filmed. It's on the Practical Machinist YouTube channel. Like there's a shop tour video. And I think that is like right around this time. Like I think we had one Speedio, the Kitamura, and the brother TC. And so we sold the Kitamura, and then COVID hit, I think. and we were down for like a week, and then everybody came back up and was just like, okay, we need parts more than ever now. And it just got super super busy, and that was when we bought the F600, because that was a demo machine that was sitting for the longest time, and we got a great deal on it, and we really needed another spindle.
And is this when Brad already came on full time as well, or was he still doing part time day job?
I think so. I went full time November 2021. I think we bought the F600 that year as well in November. And then he came on full time the following June or July. And that was a that was a tough thing, because like I was scared enough having to pay myself and support the business, and I was there every day, and like I was going through some real motivation issues. Like it was very strange being there alone every day, not having anybody to hold me to a schedule. I was, rocking up around 10 to 12 every day. And it was like, well, some days I'll work till 2 and some days I'll work till 9, and no schedule, no nothing. So anyway, all of that was going on. I was trying to find myself as a entrepreneur, really. And Brad was like, dude, I don't want to work here anymore. You need to figure this out. Like, we need to figure this out so that I can go full time. I was like, okay, like, well, we'll do this. And I kind of kept pushing back, but also knowing that it was not fair of me to be like, no, I can quit my job, but you can't quit your job. Um, and so he came on. It was very scary for sure. He went through his own thing of like trying to figure out what that feels like being self-employed and not having anybody to hold you to a schedule. But it all worked out. Like we kept getting busier and busier, making more parts, really starting to bang into the limits of our 1,000 square feet at that point. Um,
Right.
then we sold. So yeah, he came on 2022. We sold the TC that year, and then towards the end of the year, because IMTS was September of that year, I think we bought our S700X2 in August of that year, because we were just so busy. We needed a third spindle with probing and tool setting and all that stuff. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was around that year, like, was kind of coming to a head. Like we knew we needed to start looking for a space. This was getting super cramped. We had installed a mini split in that shop because there was just a swamp cooler that was dumping humidity on everything and rusting our tool holders. And it was like, this sucks. The mini split, though, would only, it was a 2 ton, I think, and only had enough juice to really lower the temperature 10 degrees. So like,
Ooh.
when it's 90 out, that's great. But when it's 110 out, it's like it's still 100 degrees inside the shop. And it's
Well, I say
miserable.
you're Arizona, so like this is like I can't imagine running a machine in a shop without AC in your climate. Like that would be ragged.
We get like 2 or 3 weeks here where like uh what's it called? Not an AC unit, but I just said it.
Swamp
Like a
cooler.
mini split,
Yeah,
swamp cooler.
a swamp cooler. Thank you. That the swamp cooler works incredibly well for like a month here until the monsoons start. But like when it's dry, it would get too cold
Yeah.
in the shop with the swamp cooler. Like it would get into the 60s. But then yeah, it would start monsooning, and it's like, oh, okay, now it's just pumping humidity. Like it's 90-degree humidity into the shop. Awesome. I remember at one point too, like they didn't tell us, and they were doing work on all of the swamp coolers in the shop or in the entire building. Like there was 15 suites or something like that, or 20 suites, and we come in the next day, and like it had just dumped 5 gallons of gross swamp cooler water all over like a tool tower that had a bunch of tools in it, like a vise. And was like, cool, okay, so
No.
all of this is rusted now, and like we had to try to save what we could, and we knew it just was untenable. And so like we bought the mini split, installed that. We covered the entire swamp cooler outlet with like reflective insulation so that it would hopefully keep the cold air in. Well, not quite cold, but colder air in. But yeah, that was kind of end of 2022, beginning of 23 is when we started looking for a new shop. And it took the entire year to find a place that was good. Cause like a non-negotiable was like, okay, AC everywhere. We need AC. And it was shocking how many landlords were resistant to that. Like we were looking at places and we're like, we will pay for it. Like we will put in an AC unit ourselves. Nah, we don't want to do that. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. Why?
It was insane. And it wasn't until like, thank God Justin was like, oh, I've got a friend of a friend that's in real estate in Tucson. Turns out he's like VP of one of the commercial real estate companies in town and became our personal realtor because of Justin. And
Awesome.
within 2 or 3 weeks of meeting him, he was like, okay, let's go look at this place. Let's go look at this place. All of them had AC. All of them were like acceptable. The third place I think we went and saw with him was where I am now. And it was perfect. Like it was a little more space than we thought we needed, but we were like, all right, it's got AC, it's got all the power, enough power at least. Let's pull the trigger. And then we moved in here beginning of 2024. And it's just been
Nice.
kind of blowing up since then. Like it's just been crazy. We bought the Hermel at the
doubt.
same time because so as we were like trying to decide to move out, one of my customers, I had like no quoted stuff towards the end of 2023. And one of my customers was like, you need to stop saying no to me. What can we do to make that change? Like, how can we incentivize you to find more capacity for us? And so like we worked out a deal where they dropped their payment terms quite a bit and like didn't promise, like there was no contract of more work, but they were like, we have so much more work that we want to give you. Like you're the one who's saying no. Like we want to give you more work. And I hadn't like I knew at that point that we wanted to buy a Hermla, but I was like dead set. I'm like, no, I want a custom order one that's automation prepped and has the tool tower and like, blah, blah, blah. A friend locally who had bought one kind of at my recommendation for a job ended up needing to get out of it basically. And so like my customer said that he was still having that machine for sale, everything lined up. And we're like, all right, we're going to buy your machine. He gave us a great price on it. And so like that thing moved into the new shop when we moved into the new shop and just kind of started off this whole journey down 5-axis as well.
Why Hermla? Like what set you onto them so hard? Because they're a rather spendy machine. They're a beautiful machine.
Yeah.
But
So a friend of mine says like any 5-axis machine is a liability. And like when he said that initially, I didn't really understand what he meant. And now that I have one and, a second one on the way, it's because like you get like a new, better hammer. And so like now everything is the new, better hammer. You don't want to use the old hammer. And like everything's just so much easier that like it becomes a liability because it's now like the linchpin of your business. And I knew I didn't want Fanuc. Like everybody I'd talked to had said just how good Heidenhain and Siemens are for 5-axis. Uh, I we thought about Micron for a little bit, but they are known for just having such horrible service in the States. Like
okay.
the scuttlebutt at least is that like they went through and fired most of their support staff during COVID for who knows why, like just the dumbest of reasons. Um, there's just not that many options really with like Heidenhain. I knew I wanted HSK because it's just I think a superior interface now, like especially now that I've used it for a long time. But I had always heard how much better it is than BT, and like no pull studs is really nice. I don't have to worry about another wear item. Like,
That's true. Yeah.
and it's got a way more clamping force. The higher RPM you spend, all that stuff. It's automatically dual contact. Yada yada yada. So you start adding those boxes, and it's like there's only a couple machines that you can really buy in that price bracket. DMG, again, I'd heard kind of horror stories about their support. And this was like right maybe a couple years after they had gone direct, which had only hurt their support network even more. And then we went to Hermla. They invited us out to the open house 2023 as well. And like seeing them build Hermlas on Hermlas, like the only machines they have in their factory that are not Hermlas are ones that are bigger than anything they make. And it's like, okay, that's
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good thing to go by. Like if you
that
trust your
instills
machines,
it instills a lot of confidence.
right, right. And like I just really liked. I think like the first thing that ever turned us on to him was Saunders's tour of Hermla, and like watching that, I was like, these are sick, but like, there's no way in hell I'll ever be able to afford one. Like, there's no way we'll end up with one of these. And then seeing them in person, seeing the support behind them and how they kind of think about all the machine design, we kind of fell in love and we were like, all right, if we can get one, this is what we want to get. And then it all just lined up, and like
Nice.
we got it for such a good deal that like there's almost nothing else that I could have bought for around the same price that would have been anywhere near the performance.
Yeah,
Right. Like you said, you're picking from a small handful if you want Heidenhain 5-axis.
yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good parts. Yeah, that was like something I was thinking about today. It's like you can get into 5-axis relatively cheaply, but what is your volumetric accuracy going to be when you want to get like really accurate? Your choices are somewhat limited to like 3 or 4 brands that will be kinematically accurate over time.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, they work so well. And like now that I've had one for over a year and a half or whatever, it's everything I had hoped it would be. Like the tool management, like it's funny, the things that I didn't think about or didn't know about that have become such a instrumental part of our workflow. Like the tool management of Heidenhain is like so good. And then on top of it, like the modifications that Hermla has made to the Heidenhain control for tool management. I mean, I've talked about it before. Like the only tools I've ever had to manually tell it to touch off are T-slot cutters. And it's because the laser needs a different set of parameters. But like everything else, I load it in the back of the machine. There's a checkbox in the tool table that says tool is measured. If that's unchecked and it goes into the machining volume, it goes and measures the tool. And it's
That's
like,
awesome.
cool. So
That's
like, I
awesome.
just never worry about, like, there's the things like that on other machines, like on our brothers, on old Fanuc machines, that I was like, oh, did I set that tool? I don't have to think about that anymore. It's like, no, it just is. It is or it isn't. Like there is just there's no anything else. Um, and yeah, the tool center point control, all that stuff is just so well baked into it that like it's just become like so many things are so easy. And I go work on the brothers and I'm like, ugh, I can't load tools while I'm running. Like that's another thing that like, because of the way the Hermla is built, I load all the tools from the back. So very often if it's a part that has maybe 5 of our standard tools and then 5 or 6 tools that aren't built yet, I'll program it all, start it running, and like make sure that I have the tools built by the time it gets to those tools. And like I can load them in the back as it's running and it doesn't care. And then it sets the tools and continues running. And it's like, cool, this is awesome.
Yeah, I tried to do that yesterday and ended up locking up my tool changer on the LK.
No.
Yeah, I realized that I needed a drill. It was set up, touched off, but wasn't in the machine. I'm like, oh shit, it's the next tool. So I paused the program, jammed it out of a tool out of the carousel, loaded into the tool table, and then it went to call the tool, but it had already loaded that tool number, and it wasn't in the carousel. So then, yeah, it went to tool 1, and then, in a bit of a tism, ended up having to power cycle, and then I got it to come right. But that being able to load tools while the machine's running would be super useful.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that like they told us in training and they told us, in the tour and stuff that you could do it. And I was like, I don't know why do I care? And then now that I use it, it's like, why would I ever not want this? Like, this is amazing.
Totally.
And like I can check tools while it's running too. Like when you go to the tool table and you highlight a tool, you can like either load the tool if it's not in there, unload it, or there's just like a check tool button where it like brings it there, it opens the door, you can check it real quick, but it expects you to put it back in. Otherwise, it'll throw an alarm and be like, "Hey, tool table's messed up, dude. You screwed something up."
That's
but
cool.
It is great because like very often, if I'm working in stainless and I'm like, "Oh, is that ball mill still looking good?" I can go check on it. Granted, like I can check a lot of that stuff with the laser too. Like it will, on like my ruffers and stuff, I can tell it like, oh, it's a 7-flute ruffer, and it will not only check that the tool's still there, but it'll spin and check for every flute and be like, oh, you're missing
Cool.
1 out of the 7.
Well, thanks. Awesome. Now I want a laser tool setter.
I mean, I think that they've talked about it on a lot of podcasts. There are serious, not drawbacks, but like everything needs to be impeccably clean when you set it. Otherwise, you start having like you're like, oh, I picked up a piece of dust or dried coolant, and now my tool's tooth out too long, and like you don't have to worry about that with a touch setter because it just plows through the coolant.
Yeah,
Like,
just mushes it out the way.
yeah, so there's a lot of not drawbacks, but just like more work that goes into both
To using a
Heidenhain's tool
laser.
table and a laser tool setter. Where like I have so many more parameters now that I have to enter. Like on the Brothers, I just load tool 10 and it is what it is. The Heidenhain, it's like, no, I need to give it a name. I need to give it a length. I need to give it an approximate radius. I need to tell it if I want to set the length and the radius or just the length. I need to give it like the offsets from center to check the length and the offsets from the tip to check the radius. I need to tell it how many flutes it has if I want it to check that. I need to give it like tolerances for the brake check if I want it to check that. So there might be 20 boxes that I need to fill in when I'm loading a tool now. And like I remote in from my programming computer and do all that prior. I'm not doing it that at the control, but it's still a lot
A
more
lot
work
of things,
for
yeah.
sure.
Because the
Yeah.
Siemens requires quite a few things if you're adding a tool to your tool table. It wants the name, the offset, the diameter, the rough gauge length, what it is generally, not really necessary, but with taps it is actually necessary before it'll go and do a touch off. And then I got lazy. My tool break detect just has like a standard 4 thou deviation or 8 thou deviation. If it's bigger or smaller than that, you need to stop. I was actually running that today because I exploded an end mill last night in brass. I broke an end mill in brass of all things.
How? What happened?
A bit of chatter, and it's a 40 millimeter high bar that's 6 wide, standing vertically. So it was slotting the end off and didn't sound healthy, and then didn't sound at all. Luckily, I was standing there because I didn't have tool break detect on the program. So then I went and slowed it down a bit, added tool break detect, and it ran the rest of the parts.
I blew up 2 stainless refers yesterday or Thursday with a similar rib of death that Fusion programmed for me. That was wonderful. I thought it was the frustrating part is that it broke. It was a worn one. I was like, oh, maybe it was just worn. And so I put a new one in, and then it broke. Oh, I guess it broke 3 because it broke again. And I was like, oh, it must be when it rotates to a 90 because it gets very thin there. And so like I just eliminated that tool path and had a smaller tool do that. Broke again. And then finally I was like, I should probably look at the tool path. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's 400 thou tall rib of death in 316 that it's trying to take with a 6 mil cutter. And like, because they would just blow off like 3 out of the 6 teeth. And I'm like, what is going on? This is bizarre. And yeah, it was just me being stupid and trying to rush through it. So
that job, I put another tool in, an old tool because it's brass. I didn't want to waste a brand new one. And it was a 3 flute, became a 2 flute. Like, I knocked off another tooth. It finished the job. Like, I machined another 200 parts like that out of 1,000. But stupid things like that happen where it's like, it's been fine up until like 800 parts, and then the thing dies, and now it's giving me endless shit. Yeah, that job is now finished. Yay.
Awesome.
That's fun times. So the Heidenhain controller, other than the tool table being a lot more needy, what are your thoughts on that controller?
It's fantastic. I really, it handles so many things so well. Like there's a few things that it doesn't handle well that I'm still surprised about. Like I've talked about it not handling tool compensation and going into like a same size radius very well. And like now we all have a workaround for that. But like if I'm trying to drive a 6 mil tool into a 3 mil corner with tool compensation on, it will just error out every time. But you can give every tool call a DR and a DL value. So you can have offsets that are just for that time you call the tool. And so we, Ledgered told me that the way that he gets around it, and now I use it and it's fantastic, is that all of my tool calls now just have a negative DR equal to the radius of the tool. So as far as the control is concerned, it's a 0 diameter tool unless I have wear in there. So I can run wear instead of in controller, and it never gives me the tool radius alarm because I'm never interpolating a 3/10 circle or anything like that.
Okay, that's a very interesting workaround. Because who was I chatting to? And they were saying how I was listening to a podcast. I was thinking, how do you get around people designing stupid square corners and things? I'm like, most of my customers that I deal with on a regular basis, either I'm designing their parts or they've been told this is the corner radius, 2.1 millimeter, 3.2 millimeter. Put a corner radius, or the price goes through the roof. And a lot of the guys, they've come to visit and they now understand why I'm specifying that, because those are the tools that are in the machine. Like, if you can make it that I don't have to struggle, your price goes down. Like, and it's quite it's quite nice when the people actually pay attention to that kind of stuff. Because I assume
Yeah.
you get to see a lot of funny business with doing prototype work.
Oh, yeah. Funny business. People just not under like we'll get corner radiuses, but like we do a lot of small parts. And like right now, I'm running a 0.4 millimeter ball in stainless because there's a bunch of tiny radii. I ran a 0.2 millimeter ball in stainless last week because of dumb parts. And like sometimes they'll change it, and sometimes they're like,
Yeah.
"No, it just needs to be like that." It's like, okay, it's gonna cost like this then, and they're like, "Yep,
Yeah.
sounds good."
Yeah, well, dumb choices cost money. It's not your problem. I've got a lot of the guys I deal with on a regular basis. Like I've mentioned Roger on the podcast a couple times. He's an industrial designer. He designs the molds. The molds get sent to me. I machine them. I'm doing like the tough mill work I do is via him through his customer. But he knows the design constraints. I'm actually busy with a set of tilting mechanisms for a vertical takeoff drone that we
Oh, cool.
designed, or I helped him refine the design probably 6 months ago and made samples. They've now just put their first production order of a whole 5 units. But I started running them like, oh, this is great. I've run these. It's all programmed. It's just, how did I set it up? Set it up again and run it. It's like, yes, repeat work. So yeah, I'm busy running through like, I think I've got 200 pieces of aluminium that arrived on Thursday that I need to run through this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a
That's
busy one on
awesome.
the LK. But yeah,
That's killer.
well, while we wait for Curt, because he seems to have run away, we have got a whole bunch of questions, but I'm going to button first with my question that I just added.
Sure.
How long do you see a machine being in your shop? It's something that's been on my mind recently. Like I was saying to Danica, currently the LK is a 6-year-old machine. In the next 5 years, it's not going to be my primary machine anymore, or it's going to be gone. In the reality, if I am successful, I'm not going to have a 20-year-old. Well, I'll say that I've got a 30-year-old machine in my workshop, but not the point. Ideally, you would phase your machines out while they still have decent amount of value to them.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think for us, so we just went kind of through this where we were going to sell one of our S700s and then decided not to. It was like,
Yeah,
oh, why are we going to lose capacity? So within that constraint of like not losing
yeah,
capacity, probably every 5 to 8 years, we'll probably cycle stuff out as long as,
okay,
business is good and we need to make
yeah.
capital purchases.
Because it's something I was thinking about within with context regarding you guys having just bought the HS Flex. What do you reckon your ownership timeline on that is going to be?
Maybe 10 years on something like
That's
that.
a bigger thing. I'd expect you to say somewhere around 10 years
Yeah.
before you
It just
phase it
depends too
out
on,
for a replacement. Like,
yeah, I think that like the reasons we'd phase things out is either gaining more capacity. So like our current Hermbla will
yeah,
likely trade out in the next, 4 or 5 years for another Flex or something like that.
sure,
But we'd either gain more capacity or more technology. Like I
but
don't want to
that
be one of those shops that's like, no, I don't need probes. And you're
yeah,
like,
100%.
but you do much better work with them. Like why would you not want them?
Yeah,
And so if there's ever any kind of incremental steps like that I want to take advantage of that we can't retrofit to our current machines, that's like an instant like, okay, those machines are on the chopping block now. Like we need that new capability to be better.
well, yeah, that's what I was saying to Danica. It's basically a case of cool. I've got a really good 3 axis, but I want to go 5 axis. Not because we currently have the work that requires it, but well, we do, but I would like to have that capability and niche in on that because I know there's not a lot of guys around here with that capability. Because a lot of guys did really well in the 80s and 90s, bought equipment, didn't replace it. And now they're sitting with stuff that they can't actually compete with. Like tool parts have come a long way. Your 6,000 RPM spindle is not going to cut it anymore.
Right, exactly. And like it can even just be software stuff. Like that shop that I worked at that I knew was not going to last long. Like I had to tell them to turn on the high-speed machining stuff on their Haas machines. And they were like fairly new ones, but like we were running these missile bodies, I guess they were, and they were surfacing the entire thing, and it was going slow as molasses. And I'm like, guys, you should buy this option. They're like, no, we're not going to spend the $2,400. I'm like, okay, let's turn on the 30-day trial then, and you'll see how much you save. And they're like, oh my god, we're saving 45 minutes apart. I'm like,
Exactly.
I think it's worth $2,400, don't you? Like,
well,
for the future.
The other reason that's been like top of mind is having just gotten rid of Bertha and replaced it with the Goodway. Yeah, the Goodway makes parts like crazy. Cut a minute and a half off a 3.5 minute cycle, and I literally don't have to measure the parts. They're all coming off identical. Start in the morning, end in the evening, they're the same. Like well within the defined tolerance. So it's like, yes, I sold my bigger lathe and got a slightly smaller lathe, but the slightly smaller lathe is way more capable. And that's it. Moving better capability, not necessarily newer machine, but better capability and better technologies was my thought behind it. It's something, I'd be interested to hear Curt's take on that. How long do you see machines being in your shop, Curt?
I mean, kind of the same question, but at the same time, I'm making a product, so and my products will advance. Like I have a new product coming out right quick, but I think my main thing is going to be capacity. So like once I saturate the machine, then it's move along to something that can take on that capacity and improve upon it, or double it up. Like right now, I'm looking to replace my hard hinge because it's swamped. And obviously, it's the same situation that you were in when you jumped off with the Kinemura. Is like if it goes down, like I'm hosed. Like the only way, like I got that at a good deal, but I invested a ton of money to make it work, and like the only thing that I'm going to be able to buy to compete with that is going to cost significantly more. So I'm budgeting for that so that I can have that, but it's kind of scary to have all my eggs in that basket right now. But yeah, same. I don't know. Kind of same deal. Like I'll run it until, I mean, I'm never going to sell it until I need the room for it. But yeah, capacity is going to be my main thing, my main bottleneck I'm running into, and power and space, because I'm here and like there's a lot of complexity with not having a lot of that either which way. But at the same time, I can kind of schedule my growth because customers aren't. I mean, customers are approaching me, but it's for a single product, so it's a little bit different. So,
right.
Like I was talking with you on your podcast, Dylan, about like with your HS Flex coming in, you basically have no idea what parts are. I mean, you have a vague idea what part sizes are going to go on it, but you don't know the part that's going onto it. Like you can't start making fixtures and pallets, and like in a situation where like if I need to do that, of course I can, but it's like your world freaks me out. But I mean, it's all what you're experiencing, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that like I'm so averse to sitting on my laurels with machines, at least, or like sitting on old machines, because I've worked in so many shops that have old machines that they've kept long past their prime, that like I have serious anxiety seeing that stuff now, because like I see how much it hurts stuff. Like every shop I've worked in has had machines that are so long past their prime that like they just needed to be put out to pasture long ago, sold to either a home shopper or put into the scrap bin, because they are just like, they're either investing so much trying to keep the controls running, or they're creating a bunch of scrap when the machine does something wonky. Like I remember my first job, we had a Kinemura where most of them, if you hit reset, you could start another program and it would be totally fine. One of them, and we never knew why, we couldn't find a parameter that linked to this. If you hit reset and didn't home the machine afterwards, it thought that where you stopped the program was now G53.
Oh, wow.
No.
And to make it more fun is it would do it intermittently. It was not every time. Sometimes you could hit reset and it would be totally fine. You could restart the program, but then sometimes you hit reset, hit cycle start, and it would try to plunge 10 inches through the table. And you're like, sweet. Okay. Yeah.
The fact that it's one out of the bunch, that's horrible.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the ones, it was so funny because, people always say like, if a machinist is blaming the machine for the crash, that they're full of shit. This was one where it was like, no, actually the machine was doing the issue. It was not the guy's fault, because we had one of our operators who's the one who unfortunately discovered it, and he crashed the absolute shit out of that machine. And we were like, what did you do? How could you do this? And he was like, I literally just hit reset and then restarted the program. And they're like, no, we don't believe you. You're full of shit. And then it happened to me, I think, one time, and thankfully I caught it. But I was like, "Oh, we're really sorry, Victor. Like you were right." Yeah.
That's horrible. Jeez.
All right. Well,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
we
Do you
have
want to
a
jump?
plethora.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch.
Yeah,
of
so we have a
questions for you.
plethora of questions we can start going through. So, Jamie, you want to pick one?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to start at the top. Actually, no, I'm not going to start at the top. I'm going to start one down. Mr. Gray asks, "What is the opposite of a calm lathe?"
Justin knows the consequences for continuing to bug me for hypermill, and that's that he's going to continue to get pie charts from me. So, no, Justin was great. That like he knew I really needed to get my shit together with hypermill, and was like, "Hey, I'm just going to start bugging you every day," and so like would constantly send me stuff of like, "Hey, slow lathe," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's the opposite of hypermill. Did you do something with hypermill today?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, all right." So yeah, hypermill is the opposite of a calm lathe, Justin.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, since he sent that through, I've been trying to figure out what he was on about. But okay, now I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kurt, do
that's
you want to grab
sick
one
pie
there?
chart too. The pie chart
Yes.
looked cool.
Thanks.
And
Yeah,
watching it move, I was like, "Ooh, I see. That's pretty."
Well, because I was going to start programming a customer part when I had the apps guy out for hypermill, which I'm so glad. Like if it was funny because afterwards I messaged my salesman and was like, "Thank you so much. I feel so much more confident. I'm going to make a customer part now." And he was like, "Is there anything that I could have done to like encourage you to do this?" Like we knew you going into this that there was a very high likelihood that we'd end up sending somebody else because they recommended it like right off the bat, like, "Hey, we recommend somebody come out for 3 days of training, blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, I got this." And he was like, "Is there anything we could have done to like steer you more correctly? Should I push further?" And I was like, "No, dude, I am so hard headed. Like I needed to get there myself and realize my mistake myself." But anyway, while he was out here, I was going to try to do a customer part, and I'm like, "This is not how I learn. Like every new toolpath or new thing, I've always learned on a personal project." And so I was like, "What should I do?" And then I think Justin had texted me that day to bug me about hypermill, and I was like, "All right, pie chart it is, buddy."
Nice.
Like,
Nice.
Well, yeah, with the whole pie chart story, he, in a message to me, realized that we are probably going to be making some shirts and sending them
Yes.
to him.
I can't wait to see it.
I'm thinking IMTS next year that I'm going to bring a whole bunch and we'll just pitch up one day all wearing pie chart shirts.
That would be amazing. Yes.
That would be freaking great.
Please do that.
Yeah, because we are planning for IMTS. That's brilliant. What have you got?
All right, keeping with all the highbrow questions here, we have SS Cadcam from Instagram. If you could snuggle any single Canadian, who would it be?
I mean, Amish knows that he's like, he looks so snuggly. Like, of course.
He does. Yeah, he does. I know a lot of Canadians, and he's still be high on my list. So.
Ooh, okay. We've got I think we're gonna loop back to the first one because that I think is that's gonna be a bit of a longer answer, hopefully. Let's see. Rebecca from Instagram now from Toolpath asks, do you enjoy making pie charts to spite Justin?
Yes. It was
good.
a ton of fun. Like designing it was a lot of fun. Figuring out what I was going to engrave on it was a ton of fun. And then machining it, like it was a perfect part because each one of the pie pieces, I used initially a different tool path on because I was going to try to make them look different. And then one of them looked so much better than the rest that I was like, okay, I'm just going to do fine finishing on all of them and then engrave them rather than like I was just going to send him a blank pie chart initially. And then I was like, no. I'll just make them all fine finished and then engrave stuff to make it funny. Like that feels more right. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I have one by Fabtastic Creations on Instagram. What was your favorite tool starting out or favorite tools starting out? I guess that could be big tools or little tools or.
Cutting tools wise, I'll go like we very much fell into like the Insta Machinist starter kit of like Qualichem 250. And I followed and really loved Calpay on Instagram. I don't think he's on there anymore, but he used Destiny tools. And I was like so thankful that I listened to him and bought those because they still are some of our standard tools. Like they're The grind tolerance is fantastic compared to a lot of brands. They just last and last and last. They seemingly are nearly indestructible. Like we've run them into too many things and they just keep trucking. Like forget
Nice.
that your stock is half an inch larger and it just like full slots the first pass in adaptive. And it's like, oh, well, it survived, but like it wasn't supposed to. And then as far as favorite other tools, I don't know. Like we didn't have like anything super special starting out. We've always used nicer digital mics, and like I have never owned one of the black Mitutoyo calipers. Like we started right off the bat with the coolant proof ones. I don't think I could go back to like having to turn off my calipers. I like having
Oh
auto
no,
off.
that's not a thing
Fair.
that should happen. You should never have to turn your calipers off. And when you
Yeah,
pick them up and slide them, they should turn on.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
got a customer that wherever it is when you turn it on, that's the new zero. Yeah, no, it's horrid. I use them
That
like I'll
sounds
be
dangerous.
visiting him and we want to measure something quickly, so he'll give me his calipers and they are unusable.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's led probably, maybe not with you, but to some of their vendors where he's like, oh, it's, 50 microns off or 100 microns off. And it's like, or did you open your calipers 100 microns and turn them on? Which one was it?
Yeah, the first thing you do with a caliper is close them and check that it goes to zero. Like
Yeah.
first thing you do, always.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch that have NFG written on them
Nice.
because they're no fucking good. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because the insides ones actually wear out over about 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing starts to rack. So you can adjust them once, and then after that, they get binned.
Mm. Yeah. They're good saw markers then. Like we have an old set.
Yeah, scribes.
Carbide jaw ones that we use to scribe at the saw. Those are perfect.
Yeah. Doesn't matter if you're off a bit. So John from Two Stroke Mafia asks, did your passion for import/performance cars help guide you? I'm assuming there's more to that. Yes, into machining.
Yes and no. Like I think it's funny because I think if you go into this trade not knowing what machining is, but only through like the advertising words on performance parts, like so for example, going back to when I was going to school, the first class you're supposed to take is Mac 100, and it's like learning how to read calipers, learning how to do this, and like you can test out of it and jump into 110, which is where you start on the manual mills and the manual lathes. And because I was young and dumb and didn't know anything about machining, I was like, I can test out of this, and like had them give me the test and like looked at the first page and was like, I don't know any single answer on this thing. Like I can identify calipers. Boom. I got 1 out of 50 questions. And so like I knew of machining because of motorsports and things like that. Like I had seen videos. I knew of a mill. I knew, I could tell you the difference between an end mill and a drill at least. Like I'd seen enough YouTube videos to tell you that, but like it helped guide me into machining. It didn't help me know what machining was though. Besides that, like I was like, I know you can cut metal with these machines, whatever they do, cool. But past that, like I'm just as dumb as everybody else.
Okay. No,
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets your attention into it, but yeah, it's a very, very deep rabbit hole once you start going down it.
Yeah. Once you learn that aerospace grade aluminum means fuck all, you're like, oh, yeah, it's all aerospace grade. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I am guilty of putting that on header cards on my products.
Uh-huh. I mean, it sells. It sells really well because
100%.
most people don't understand.
Yeah. It's a base pad for a magazine, aircraft grade aluminium. One time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've definitely done that. So.
All right. I have a long, decent one here from Joe Harrison. Joe, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. First, a little compliment for you. I'm sure he listens to your podcast. Says, Dylan, you really set the bar high for what a small, highly automated instant machinist shop can look like. Seriously impressive, and it's been an awesome following you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
His question. If you were starting over today with the knowledge you have now, what would you change about your growth path? Would you have jumped straight into 5-axis pallet changing systems, more advanced CAM, high-end toolpath simulations, visualizations, much easier? Or are you actually glad you took the slower, more deliberate route, getting the fundamentals down first and keeping your machine payments and overall business risk lower as you scaled? So long question, but
So I think if I was starting over today and I had customers, like if I was like, sold Proteum, whatever, started another business in another sector that had customers that were like, we need these parts for this. Maybe I would start with a 5-axis and like go down that route. But like starting over having no customers, I'm so glad we did it the way we did. Like we were very risk averse. Could we have gone faster? For sure. But like at no point, every step we've taken has been incremental enough where like I'm nervous, I'm stressed a little bit, but I'm not like losing sleep. I'm not eating because I'm so stressed. And I think Brad's the same way. We're like, buying our first Speedio was like 83 grand. And I think it was $1,000 a month or $800 a month or something like that. Like super low cost.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I could have completely floated the shop and the machine if all of our work dried up overnight. Like it would have sucked. I would have had to eat ramen for a few months, but like every step of the way, I've done it to where it's going to be okay. Like things are going to work out. If shit hits the fan, I'll be okay. And like your risk tolerance gets way bigger the bigger your shop gets. Like the HS Flex is not a cheap machine, but knowing what I know now and knowing where my business is now, it's like the next, maybe not incremental step. It's a few steps ahead of where we are, but it's the right move, and it's
Right.
still not stressing me out to the point that I'm like losing my mind. And I think that for me at least, like everything I do in my shop is about like quality of life. Like that's why we buy things like Power Grip and all the laying stamping stuff. It's not because like, yes, does it make the parts easier? Yes, but it also makes my life easier. Like I just don't worry about tool pull out anymore or run out anymore. I haven't checked run out in years because it's just like
Yeah.
I know it's going to be good. Like if the collet's good and the holder's good, it's good. And like same with the laying stamping stuff. It's like it's got a centering mark. I know I don't check anymore. Like, oh shit, did I put it where it's supposed to be? Did I clamp the vise? It's like it's where it's supposed to be. I can see everything's clamped. I can see the 0 points torqued down. Cool. Like it's all about getting stress off my plate, and like that includes building a business of like I just want to. You need to take steps that scare you, but you don't need to take steps that scare you so much that like it affects your entire rest of your life and makes you just like not enjoy life anymore. At least in my opinion.
Well,
No,
on
I think
that,
it's super healthy. Yeah.
on that note, like, yeah, the steps, like you say, it's a couple steps ahead, but what I've noticed is the steps just keep getting bigger. Like
Mhm.
when I went from when I bought the LK, that was a huge step for me. But since then, it's like, okay, cool. I need to spend $1,000 on tool holders. Cool beans. Whereas 2 years ago, I would have thought I was out of my mind if I wanted to spend that much on tool holders. Like everything, it just constantly gets more expensive. But it also, like you say, quality of life is huge. I've got customers who come past, and they're like, your wall of tools is insane. I've got I think 40 tools outside the machine, 16 in the machine at any given time, and it's all tagged. If I want to swap it in, I swap it in. And they're like, that's crazy. They've got like 20 tool holders and they're constantly changing end mills. I'm like, no, yours are crazy. I can go from running one job to running a different job in a matter of minutes. Like it's all about convenience because I'm lazy. And yeah, actually getting started on things is a challenge.
Uh-huh. It
Yeah.
sure
So
is.
yeah, make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Well, and machines look good on Instagram, but like sometimes building up the back end systems, like you said, to avoid stress in your life or reduce the stress in your life,
Yeah.
is like that makes a huge impact on how you feel as a person. And sometimes it's not flashy. Sometimes it's like, okay, I just want to have X amount in the bank, so I know that if shit goes south, I have a little bit more breathing room than be like, oh, if this next job goes south, I'm done for. Like, and you can't show that, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a nice feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, if you're working for yourself, like that's my biggest goal is just like I want to come to work and enjoy where I work and not have points of friction throughout my entire day. And if I can
Totally.
continue to spend and make that easier every day, like that's what it's all about for
Yeah.
me. Like Brad and I make pretty okay money now. And we just like both enjoy, like at the end of the day, neither of us wants to go back to a day job. Like it's
Exactly.
not to say that we don't have days where we're like, man, this really sucks. Like, today really sucked. Like yesterday, I broke those 3 end mills. I think Brad broke 2 or 3. And like to your point, Jamie, like we broke $800 worth of end mills today or yesterday. And like that's not a normal day by any means. Like that was a very, very abnormal day. But I remember buying Swift carb end mills for our first stainless job, and it was like $300, and we really had to like be like, okay, we need to be very careful with these. Like this is a lot of money to spend on tools. And now it's like, dude, I just broke $800 in end mills and just reordered them immediately because I need them. And like,
No,
it still sucked.
it
Don't
all
get me wrong. Like,
scales. Yeah. But it all
and like,
scales. Like that $800 in end mills is not going to put you out of business. Whereas go back a couple years and that would have put a serious ding in your profits.
oh yeah. Well, I remember like I was looking at our books last year, I think it was, or the year before when we were buying the Hermla and I was getting everything together for the loans. And I just like happened to go back a few years in Zero and looking at what we made the year that they financed us for the first Speedio. I was like, how and why did they think this was a good idea? And we made less in a year than we make in a month now. And it's like, what world were we a viable creditor? Like what? We were a risk. Like, why did you take a risk on us?
I mean, the first year that JSpec was actually needing to be a business, not just me cocking around in the garage, I did what I do in a month now. Like that was 4 years ago. I literally do more in a month now. When it came to financing the LK, the bank said sorry, no. So I'm like, hey, brother-in-law, you said you'd hook me up, please. And he helped me get that machine because they were happy to lend me about half of what I needed for it. And I didn't want to buy a 20-year-old Fanuc machine when I could get something decent. But it's interesting to see how that grows. And over the short time span, like we're not talking 20 years, we're talking 5 years. I think in your case as well, it's like 5 years.
Real full time, basically.
Your cost every month is a lot higher than it was back then. Like even I look at what my cost per month is now, and it scares the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I would never have been in a position to have half the shit that I have if I wasn't doing this full time. Like if I was getting my old salary, I wouldn't be able to afford the machine. Never mind anything else.
It's crazy. I mean, it's great.
Yeah,
like it's wonderful, but it's just so weird to look back on that stuff and realize how quickly it all changes. For sure.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting how quickly it changes. Okay, we got another question from Surge Creator. I'm assuming his name is Lightning. How do you get work and good customers? Looking to start a job shop / prototype shop in my garage.
Like I said earlier, we just through friends. Like we've just put it out on Facebook. We put, talk to everybody. There's no there's nobody in your life that isn't touched by manufacturing in some way. And like it might be like the most tangential connection of like, oh yeah, my cousin works at I think some kind of engineering firm, and then you like end up talking to their cousin. And it's like, oh, this ended up being a giant customer of mine. Like our first customer was one of Brad's old coworkers was their head of quality, I think, at that point. And so he got us in, and like that was great. And then like one of our other biggest customers was a friend, one of my friends, his dad worked there. And like that's how we got in there. And like it's just talk to everybody. And worst case, you can start looking up places on Google, like search engineering, search whatever, and very often you can even just find that like sector of town. They're usually pretty close to each other, and just like literally go door knock, and you'll get 1,000 no's and one yes, and like the one yes is what matters.
Yeah, it all comes down to networking and not necessarily what you know, but who you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
and practice your 30-second elevator pitch. Like it's always going to be a million shops around you. Find one thing that makes you different, and let them know.
Exactly. I mean that's what I'm focusing on now. I did some tool steel stuff that was a bit of a mild shit show a few weeks ago, and after that I'm like, nope, we do aluminium, we do brass, we do small components. Anything big, go somewhere else. I'm not actually interested. I'm going to niche down on what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing. And now I've got a bunch of parts I'm making for Dutchman squeeze boxes, concertinas. making stupid custom screws for the guys and little nut plates and all sorts of weird shit, but stuff that I enjoy making that's easy to make and I can automate.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
but yeah,
Yeah, but
it comes down to just speak to people.
yeah. And
Yeah.
you'll find what you're good at and what you don't want to deal with. Because like for example, you won't do big stuff. We don't typically do anything that big, and like we won't do composites at all anymore. Because like
Uh,
we spent a very hot summer in the Kitamura. We just needed work, and like we picked up this big order of FR4 parts, and
ooh,
so it was coolant off, filter paper all over the bottom of the machine. We're both in masks and have the vacuum there, holding it over the other pallet with the door up in the Kitamura, vacuuming it as it cuts. And it's 100 degrees, and you're just like sweating through the mask, and it's running down. Like it was miserable.
yeah.
And then we had to change the coolant, and it was like, we're just not going to do this anymore. We're just done. Like, just no more. There's other people that do composites great. Leave it to them. I don't want to do this anymore. And like,
Well, yeah, I've got Tufnell this next week or two. I've got a machine Tufnell again, and that literally pulls all the coolant out of my coolant. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a total shit show. But I make good money doing it. I'll replace the coolant every time. Like, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's one of the only big jobs I really do these days.
yeah.
But,
And that's not to say, I mean, I guess if one of my big customers was like, we really need you to do this composite job,
yeah,
it's like, okay, but I'm going to tack on a $50,000 fuck you cost because I just don't want to
that's
do
what I
this.
did on these parts. Is I added a coolant sucking out fee to suck out my coolant tank and clean it afterwards because I have to. The whole bottom gets full of Tufnell. I've got to spend 2 hours cleaning the machine out after the fact, and that ain't free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think Curt has one more question, and then I've got the long question left.
You bet. So this is from ReadySaw on Instagram. How's dad life? And have you had to cave into buying pink filament yet?
Dad life is wonderful and incredibly tiring. I haven't bought pink filament yet, but like, yeah, it's great. I love going home and seeing her at the end of every day. But also like last night, she decided to wake up every hour on the hour. Like I was like, oh, I need to come into the shop early to get parts done before I record with you guys. I'll go to bed early. I went to bed like 2.5 hours earlier than I normally do, and then was up all night. I was like, cool. All right, this is my life now. So lots of positives, a few negatives. Overall, fantastic.
The fact that you said you were up all night, that's like 9,000 points to good dad, because tons of guys I know, they're like, oh, I just let my wife deal with it. I'm like, oh, great. Okay, your kid's going to have a relationship with your wife and not you. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we were both up because, like, sometimes she'll wake up and just cry and just want to be in our bed. And it's like, that's totally fine. She's whatever, 7.5 months old. Like, you can come into our bed. But, like, even that was like, nope. And it could very well be that she's teething now. Like, it feels like some teeth are coming in. Who knows? It's just like, all right, this is just how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun times.
Oh, man.
Okay,
That's
so
awesome.
we've got two more questions, both from JobShopperTN on Instagram. Firstly, why did you start the podcast?
So thankfully, Peyton from Brick Tactical reached out to me, whatever it was, 5 years ago now, and was like, "Hey, I want to start a machining podcast." Like he listened to the Bomb, I listened to the Bomb. There was not that many other podcasts out there. There's maybe 2 or 3 other ones, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" Like we had barely spoken to. I don't really know why he reached out to me specifically, but it all worked out. Like it sounded like fun, and so we did it. And then he got too busy, whatever it was, 4 years ago. And I was just like, dude, I'm having too much fun to stop. Like I'm just gonna keep it going. Like this is fantastic.
Okay.
I was wondering how that played out, because I remember the Peyton ones, and I'm like, and then he left. I was like, oh, I wonder if they had a falling out, or if he just got too swamped and just had to.
Yeah, he was just
out or
getting super busy, and I think it is as you guys know, it's a not insignificant dedication of some time every week.
Yeah,
totally, yeah.
It's I think for both of us, it's more of a mental health break, like just chatting to someone in a similar situation, and that makes it a little bit easier to justify as well. But yeah, it's a significant like commitment to every week, but
Yeah.
a lot of fun. And then
And thank you for doing it, because I know
yes,
we all
thank you.
enjoy it as well. So
Oh,
Yes,
I
the
love
effort.
it. Like you said, it's a great mental health break. Like I will go into a day where I have to record being like, "Ugh, I really don't have the time. I don't really want to do this. Like I just want to like, clam up and not talk to anybody." And then like this second I start recording the podcast, I'm like, "Oh, I love this." Like, and I like come out of it like super jazzed to like either go make more parts or like go home and program or like whatever it is. I'm like, I love this. So like there's basically never a time that I record where I'm like, I regret doing that,
yeah, it's you get motivated by people who are motivated. And generally, when you have people on there talking about what they enjoy doing, and that you feed off that energy. Mm, yeah. And then, who are some of your favorite guests? There are two correct answers here.
I love all my guests equally.
Okay.
That's a
Sorry.
safe
Three
answer.
answers.
It's safe. The safest.
Yeah, no, I really do. I have so much fun with everybody. It's really, really cool. I mean, like at the end of the day, I've talked to people where they're like, "Well, how do you get people to open up?" And I'm like, people love talking about themselves, like not in a
100%.
like an egocentric way, but like especially in this trade, it's like fairly solitary. Most of us work alone or with only a couple other people. It's not like you're like telling your life story very often, and it's always really fun to get to do that. And so yeah, I always learn something. People ask like, why do you keep doing it? It's like, because I have a Rolodex now of like 200 people that like at any like, oh, if I
Yes.
need to,
Yes.
if I want to make a pen, guess who I'm going to call? Like if if I'm like thinking of like anything in South Africa, or if I like want to talk about LKs, like guess who I'm going to call? Like
Yeah.
I know somebody for everything now, basically.
No,
Yeah.
100%. That's
I couldn't agree more.
Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Let people talk. Like
Yeah.
that's something I was saying to Danica. We're driving around today. I'm like, let's see if we can wrangle Dylan like he managed to wrangle me, because you managed to wrangle me really well in the podcast. Like you kept me on track. You very experienced at interviewing people, but I think half the thing is just letting them speak, because
Yeah.
people want to talk about themselves.
It's just putting up bumpers in the bowling alley. Like that's all it is. Is like you just need to have like some very vague guide rails to keep people somewhat on track, and they will say everything that you want, because
Yeah.
people loved it, and we're all doing cool stuff. Like it's not machining is cool at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like it is just freaking cool, and so like there's always something to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, that's why
I know
I like sharing on Instagram, because there's always something interesting going on. And if it can help one person, it's a success. That's all it has to do, is influence one person and help them in a bond, and it's a success.
Yeah.
Well, this is like, it's such a cool community. Like I know I chat with Jamie, and like just the Instant Machinist community, the podcast community of chatting with everybody. Like you get so many connections that I would never have in regular life. Like I talk to people that I would never cross paths with, that are in crazy positions that people would pay to have a meet down, like sit down and talk to. And I could just hit them up on Instagram and send them a message. And they'll be like, oh yeah, this. And I'm like, this isn't like, how do you put a value on that? That's bonkers. And they do it because they like it. Like we're all a bunch of dorks. And just like you said, we just want to chat. We just want to talk to somebody else that gets
100%.
jazzed about the same things. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of my like best friends I met through the podcast and the Instant Machinist community. Like Easton and I talk every other day, or Zap and I text for sure every day, and Justin, like I talk to him all the time. Like I would never have met these people, or like if I didn't have the podcast and I didn't have the Instant Machinist community, I would have like met Justin maybe at IMTS, and that would have been it. I've been like, oh, that guy's cool. Never would have known how smart he is. Never would have known like how much he's done. And it's just like it's insane how much all of this has changed my life for the better.
Yeah, my main concern now is that I think Instagram might be dying as a platform, just because everyone's uninstalling it, because all it is doom scrolling these days. Like I open it in the morning, I look through all the stories of the people that I'm following. I don't scroll. Well, I end up scrolling through the posts and things, but then it just 3 posts down, it's just random crap again. Like if it's not in a story, I generally don't catch it. Like
Same. Yeah.
and I get why people are uninstalling it. It's just a bit sad that it seems to be a bit of a dying platform.
Yep. I mean, that's what happens when it gets that
Yeah.
commercial and like that. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys talked about it on your last episode. It's like, oh yeah, am I going to open up my racist meme app
Yeah,
again?
100%.
Yeah.
Well, they took a note from Microsoft and ruined the UI this week.
Hmm.
Like, it's gone. Sorry, you're a picture app. Why is the message thing at the bottom?
Well,
And
I
now, if
heard you
you're
say
not,
that, and it's so
dude,
funny because it hasn't been a picture app for like years at this
yeah,
point.
it hasn't. But I used to hit that middle button to do a story or whatever. Now it's up on the top. And if someone posts multiple pictures in a post and you're trying to scroll between them, you best be dead on the middle of the picture. Otherwise, it takes you to Reels. Like, they're trying to obviously push the Reels and shit to compete with TikTok, but it's a little infuriating.
Yeah. I end up watching, if I want to watch Reels, I end up watching more of that stuff on YouTube now.
Yeah,
Like shorts,
as well.
their algorithm seems like it's better tailored. I get more
Mhm.
on topic stuff. It's not like,
Mine is literally just physics stuck, and that's it.
yeah, I mean, like I get things I actually care about on
Yeah.
YouTube, whereas on Instagram, it's like
Instagram,
maybe 30% is stuff that I actually care about.
it's just a bunch of really things you shouldn't share in public, and look, it's rage baiting. That's all it is.
100%.
Trying to rage again. Okay, we've got one more thing, the Google Box section. But before we get to the Google Boxes, we need to thank our Patreons who make the wheels on the podcast go round and round, and are making it so that when I kidnap Curt, we don't have to sleep on the streets in Chicago for IMTS. Big thank you to our top Patreons: Jade from Benchmark 20, Luke from Fabtastic, AJ from Subtract Manufacturing and 25 other companies, EJ from Nocturnal Welding, Jason S, and the Aussie Machinist. We got a new Patreon this week, but they're going to get shouted out in this week's episode, not this episode, which is 3 weeks episode's time. So, yeah, Patrons get access to the after show, where Curt and I usually discuss super secret things and things that we don't really want the public to know too much about. And then if you want to pick up some of the fancy merch, it's available on the lonemachinists.com. There's a link through to the JSpec ENG website where you can find all of that. And as far as I know, next week is you missed Black Friday, guys. Sorry. All the shirts will be available for a week after Black Friday. So if you're listening to it, they should still be there. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the time jump thing there.
Oh, man.
So,
great.
what is in your guys' Google boxes? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Good.
You're the
I was
guest,
going to say, let's go Dylan first.
Oh.
A couple things. So I just ordered another automatic PG press from eBay because I had ordered one 4 weeks ago. At the time, I knew it might be a scam 4 weeks ago. It's like it showed up. The guy had 3 sets of like the automatic press, and it was like 5 holders and 10 collets, or 10 holders and 10 collets for, I think it was like $6,000 or something like that. Like the machine itself is like a $9,000 or $10,000 machine. But it said in the thing, like, these won't be able to ship till November 17th, and then they'll be shipped. And it was like, okay. And I reached out to him after to see if he could ship it quicker. And he was like, no, like, this is the earliest that I can promise it. Like, I, overdid the timeline just to make sure that the guy can ship it. And I was like, okay, this seems weird. So I contacted him after the 17th, just like, hey, just checking on this, making sure we're here for any deliveries. Nothing. Another guy that I know who also ordered one, tried to contact him. Nothing. Obviously, eBay will refund it if we need to. But another one popped up on eBay this morning that looks basically brand new. It's like a 2022 machine with 138 presses on it. It was listed 4 parts because they just said they didn't want to test it. They were like, it looks brand new. We have no idea. Came with the dies. It was $4,000 for a $9,000 machine. And I was like, okay,
nice.
I'll buy that immediately. And you know what? If the other one comes through too, I'll have a second one that I can sell. Great. Not a big deal. But I'm looking, I have a pile of PG for the new machine sitting in my inspection room right now. And the idea of hand pumping 100+ tools doesn't sound awesome. So
Okay, that's what I was about to ask you. Is do you not already have one? Like you're
Yeah,
using
so
PG? Okay, you hand pump
we
it.
have two of the manual pumps. So we bought one when we
Okay.
bought our S700 X2. That was our first kind of step into PG because you can buy, they call it the anniversary kit, and it's the manual pump, 5 holders and 10 collets for, I think it's like $6,000 or $5,000 or something like that. So you basically get all the collets for free is how the discount works
Yeah.
out. And then my friend who had bought the C250 we bought had also bought that for HSK. And so when we bought his machine, we got his pump and all of his holders. And so we have 2 things, and we keep one set up for PG10 and one set up for PG15. And then the PG15 one I'll swap to PG25 if I need to. But it's fine now when I'm only changing a handful of tools, though I'm doing enough work in the Hermla now that even that is starting to get tiresome. 5 or 10 holders a day. You're like it's not tiring my arm, but I'm just like, ugh, all right, I
Yeah.
guess I'll set the tools now. But yeah, setting 100 tools is like, I kind of want the auto press now. So yeah, I bought that one. I'm still waiting for the guy to contact me with rigging, or not rigging, freight prices, but it's in California, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Okay. That does it count how many cycles it's pressed?
Yeah, it's got a little,
Oh,
just like a mechanical
little
ticker in the
manual
back,
counter. Okay,
and
cool.
it's 138 on this one. So
Yeah,
like that's
that's
nothing.
cool. Yeah.
And I think that
Uh,
includes unpressing too. So that means like
yeah.
60
Wow.
something tools, 70 tools. Yeah, so it's basically brand new.
Okay. Oh, very
The
cool.
other thing I had Daisy Leader in there, which was the ship that our HS Flex is on, and it
Ah,
landed in port today. So I've been tracking that thing for
Ooh.
weeks now.
isn't it running late? Wasn't it
Uh
meant to be there like the 19th?
yeah, so
Okay.
it was gonna be a day late because it didn't get into the port in Germany until a day late, and then I guess the transfer across the Atlantic took an extra couple days, but it's here. We'll see when it gets through customs. Still trying to organize rigging. I was going to have the machine shipped directly to our riggers in Phoenix and then have them truck it down just so I didn't have to worry about coordinating both. And then my riggers let me know that it is 7 crates, not the 3 that I thought it was. And they were
Yeah.
like, so we'll have to bring down 3 extra trucks if you want to do it that way. And it will cost you a lot of money. And she was
Yeah.
like, but
Whoa.
I work with the shipping company quite a bit, so we can just coordinate for you. And I was like, oh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, let's
Yeah,
do that then.
that's
Like,
much
why would I
easier.
not?
Yeah.
Of course I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, turns out, like, I thought it was like machine in one, HS Flex, like the Flex automation in another one, and the tool tower in one. And it's like, yeah, it's those 3, and then it's the conveyor and sub pan in one. It's the storage module for all the pallets and the pallets in one. It's the coolant system in another one, and I'm forgetting 2 or
Yeah.
whatever. There's just 7 of them. It's like, oh,
Okay.
sick. All right. So yeah, it's landed.
Cool.
Hopefully, I'm really hoping it will be here second week in December. That's the goal right now because I have work that takes me through about halfway through the first week in December. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
hoping
Yeah.
and praying that it works out like that. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a lot of late nights coming up here trying to get everything out the door before we shut down. Um, and then last up, I had Gaduino. So we had bought a Gagia. So we had ordered the, who makes it, Fellow ES1 espresso machine when it came out, and that it was on pre-order. It was supposed to ship before the holidays, quote unquote, and then they sent everyone who backed it or pre-ordered it a video a month ago that was like, we found issues with our production line, we're going to change these things, but it's going to push it till July or June of next year. I was like, we really wanted an espresso machine. Like our current Philips one was like making really gross coffee, and like no matter what we did, it was just not working. And so Gadget is like the most basic, fairly nice, inexpensive one, and you can buy refurb ones from Whole Latte Love is the website we used. And so we got a good
Mhm.
deal on it. And then you can add all of the intelligent stuff through the Gaduino kit. And they actually sell full kits now. We bought ours from Peak Coffee, which we'll see if long term that ends up being the good decision or not, or if we should have just ordered it from the UK. But it has, the scales built into the where you rest the cup, so it stops when it gets to the right weight. It does all the pressures, it does all the temperatures, yada yada yada. So we have the kit now, and I'm kind of going through, and I did a bench test the other day. All the electronics work, but I'm kind of unsure all of the Gaduino kits that I've seen so far have terrible documentation. Like you can go to the Gaduino GitHub, and there's a bunch of documentation there, but it's not universal for the kits. So like some of the things they tell me or the wiring that they tell me is like not quite right, or like the prints that I printed out don't quite fit the cables that are included with my kit. And it's like, okay, so now I got to kind of go back and forth and piece together everything and figure everything out. But it's exciting. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are sick machines. That I mean, it's nice because it's like a low price, decent espresso machine, like the actual company, like
decent,
espresso. Yeah, like I would love a decent machine, but
yeah, and that's why we bought the ES1 because it's the same. Like the ES1 from Fellow is looking to be basically like a prosumer level version of the Gaduino.
Right.
Like it has a built-in screen and will do all the temps and pressures and all that stuff for you. It's just gonna take a year from when we ordered it, basically. So
totally,
we needed something, and then like either Brad or I'll take home the Gaduino and we get the ES1, or we'll have two machines for, I don't know. We'll figure it all out.
Yeah. Yeah, never a problem. Yeah.
So what
cool, man.
what have you been Googling, Curt?
So I came across one thing called the Lunch Ease, which it just was scrolled through my Instagram. I Googled it. It's like a programmable lunchbox that like heats up and stuff. I have zero need for it. I just thought it was really cool. It's rather expensive, but like I just walk into the kitchen and make lunch. But like I kind of almost wish my shop was farther away so I could like just use this. Stupid idea, but I also for this laser scanning I've been doing, came across sublimation spray, which I just bought a can of. I thought it was just like matte spray paint. I was like, why is it so expensive? So I bought a can of it, and then I realized sublimation spray, you spray it on your part that you need to scan, and it makes it all flat, and then you wait 6 hours and it just disappears. It direct sublimates from a solid to a gas. So you don't have to clean it. So like, yeah, so if I want to do like my wife's ring or something like that, I can spray it and then just leave it be and it's gone. And like, I don't have to worry about trying to clean. Yeah.
So what my mate Roger does is he puts talcum powder and alcohol, puts it in a spray bottle, shakes it up and sprays that on, and then the alcohol evaporates, leaves you with this white powder everywhere. So it looks like a cokehead sneezed. But
totally.
In a pinch it
I know,
works.
I
know the sublimation spray is not cheap.
Yeah, but I mean, looks cool.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I was like, why not? I'll try it. And I want to try to get the best results I can. So anyways, been pissed around with that. And then Blender. I haven't messed with Blender in like a decade, but same thing. I've wanted to get better at doing some mesh modeling that isn't CAD specific. So there's like ZBrush, some very expensive software, and obviously Blender is the open source alternative, and it's amazing. It's advanced so much. So I spent yesterday just doing some sculpting tutorials on Blender because it's fun, something to do. And a mesh to CAD program, which I will link in the show notes. I can't remember the link right now, but it's the equivalent of like if you do a 3D scan and you want to use it for something recent or decent. So like I'm making a like a ball bar to do some scan testing, but I want to overlay models on my scan so I can actually measure how accurate everything is. And to do that, you can use like whatever scanner you buy. They always have their own software, but it's usually like $1,000 a year. But a company came out with one that's open source and it works super, super well. And it lets you bring mesh models and like best fit like a sphere or best fit like a cylinder or best fit a cone to like whatever you scan. So it takes a lot of the annoying part of converting a mesh model to a solid model. Anyways, I can't remember the name. I'll link it in the show notes. You can download it and it runs on your computer and it's totally free. Or sorry, it's not totally free, but there is a version that you can download that is free. And it works apparently quite well. So yeah, that's been my search bar.
That's awesome.
How about you, Master? Yeah.
Yeah,
seems cool.
I've been trying to figure out Morse taper sizes for Carl's lathe. Tracking 2 parcels that are heading to the US via India. They went from here, so from Johannesburg to Dubai, to India, to Italy, to the US. Yeah, the most ridiculous route. But yeah, there's some anchor points that will have arrived already in the US. They arrive this coming Monday with some special secret engravings on them. And then I've been looking into relays for the servo alarms on Spinderella. So if the servos fault, which they did today, the machine will go into e-stop. So just got to go pick those up on Monday. And then looking at rotor tanks still for putting in some RO water storage in the workshop.
Awesome.
And I'm probably still going to be Googling rotor tanks in 3 weeks' time. So
I'm in the middle of figuring all that stuff out too right now. It's interesting.
I don't have space, so I want to put a 180-liter tank in the workshop and then a 240-liter tank outside the workshop that the RO's bypass line goes into. So the outlaw can use that to water the garden, and I'm not just pissing it down the drain because, yeah, I may as well try and use the water for something because the bypass is like 3 times what you get out of the RO system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
It
so
really
but for
is.
watering the garden, that's perfect. Like, I can put the tank at the top of my little stairs. It's high enough that you can use it easily with a hose pipe. So yeah, that's one of the plans that are afoot in the workshop at the moment.
Awesome.
But yeah, so
Cool.
where can people find your stuff, Dylan? Or you and your stuff?
I'm on Instagram, either Proteum Mac, MACH, or with Intolerance Podcast. The podcast is available anywhere you can get podcasts and on YouTube as a video and Spotify as a video. Yeah, that's pretty much it. ProteumMachining.com. There's a link there if you want to send a quote, but I think we're done for the year. So it's
Nice.
2026 thing.
Nice. Yeah. And if you don't listen to Dylan's podcast, go do it. It'll be linked in the show notes as well. It's definitely one of my favorites. So one of the ones I don't skip. So
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you having me on too. It was a lot of fun to get to
Yeah, no,
tell my
nothing
story
like
again. It's not something I get to do very often, and it's really fun to get to talk to other people.
Yeah, nothing like a little bit of podcast incest. Everyone's on everyone's podcast.
Totally.
Yeah, Curt, where can people find you at?
Confoundedmachine.com. You can find links to everything. You can find links to the shirts that we sell. You can find links to the products that you can't buy from me, but that will change in the new year, hopefully. So that's the goal. How about you, Master Jamie?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at jspec_engineering. You can find our website at jspeceng.com, where you can find the anchor point, the t-shirts, and the flux. I think there's still stock of those. And the podcast at thelonemachinests.com, where there's a companion guide, some bonus content, and a link to the fancy shirts, which will still all be available because Jamie is an illiterate. So, what have you guys got going on today, since it's still pretty early in the day, although it is the weekend?
I am finishing up some stainless parts in the Hermla, and then I have my first customer hypermill part going on the Hermla, which I'm excited about. I was just playing around or trying to finish the programming a little bit ago because it's a fairly easy part with some frustrating features, but it's all working out. Like I think I talked about it a while ago, but there's a really cool toolpath in hypermill where it's called 5-axis rework. So if, like, for example, I can't get a toolpath to do what I want in 5-axis, I can generate it in 3-axis with collisions and then apply the 5-axis rework and say, okay, now take that toolpath and move the 5 axes how you need to avoid collisions. And it'll be like, okay. And it just like refits all of the toolpath to avoid
really
stuff.
cool.
Yeah. It's
that's cool.
insanely powerful. And it's just like a very interesting way to think about stuff. So like I have all these angled bosses and I have to get under them. And so I just like only told it to look at the face for generating the 3-axis toolpath. And then I just said, okay, now avoid everything else and reference the real model. It's like, okay, no problem. I got you.
That is really
Nice.
cool. That's
cool.
a really, really cool sounding toolpath. Curt,
Yeah.
what you got going on today?
Weekend. So I was just gonna joke. I'd say my wife took Bob Barker's advice and got me neutered. So I'm feeling a little rough today. So I'm probably just gonna relax. Hence why Blender was in my search, because I just need something to do where I can just sit comfortably and do some drawing. So I've been messing around with CAD and Blender. So I'll probably do that for the rest of today, and then just chill. Crazy. How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I might need to go fix Bertha. The one limit switch just got munched. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna message this guy already done. I might just shoot down there quickly, and I've got a spare. Like, I'll just go change the limit switch out. It's on with Wagos anyway. It's been swapped a few times. I don't know why it got munched. I don't know if there was a shaving or a screw came loose and it slipped down. Like, I'm not entirely sure why it got smushed. Because he was running, he went, turned the machine off, went in for dinner, came back, and it wouldn't home. So he pulled the cover and the whole limit switch is bent sideways. So I might either this evening or tomorrow morning shoot down there quickly and then see how far he's got on with my lathes chuck adapter as well. because he's making the chuck adapters for all the lathes that we busy chuck adaptering. But yeah, that's
Cool.
that's the plan. And on that, everybody, thank you very much for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, we're available on Spotify and all the other podcasty things. If you're listening there, you can watch our ugly faces on YouTube. And yeah, thank you very much. We will see you next week. There will be a fancy after show that Curt and I will record in 3 weeks' time. Should be quite interesting. But yeah, thank you, Dylan, very much for coming on. And yeah, we will chat to you again at some point.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Take care, all.